Part 2 of the candy bar. After you have all the details drawn with pencil and the correct proportions, please double check a few things. So when you look at a wrapper, you make sure that you can see just the front. So this is just the 2D version of our candy bar. 3D will be your group project. But make sure, think about our paper, how big it is compared to our candy wrapper. So you need to make sure that you make things large enough so that it makes sense proportionally. Make sure that the smaller letters are actually somewhat bigger, okay? And make sure that you're getting in all the small details so that you can get it colored in correctly. You will need colored pencils for this part. And you also need to make sure that you add value within the colored pencils. So what do I mean by value? Making sure that maybe you need to blend colors, maybe making sure that you're pressing harder or pressing lighter with the colored pencil. I'm going to be also grading on the neatness of coloring and filling the space up, along with the details on the candy wrapper. So make sure that you're using your space wisely. You're drawing the candy with the correct proportions. You're using value with the colored pencil. You're creating a neat looking candy wrapper. It's not going to look realistic if you are sloppy with your coloring. So I'm going to color a couple of these in for you to give you an idea. There are a few things that I'm missing. I did not draw my letters out here, and I did not draw these here yet. So please make sure that you have all of yours finished before you start coloring. You may need a couple boxes of colored pencils. The colored pencils are found in the open chalkboard cabinet. Right here. The pencil sharpeners, fourth drawer for hand sharpeners, and then there's a mechanical pencil sharpener if needed over here by the whiteboard. You may use Sharpie or Flair pen on certain areas that may need the darkest of dark values. Please make sure that you are using mainly colored pencils. You can use a free draw sheet to test out some of your colors that you might want to use. You may have to blend some of your colors, so it may not be the first color you decide to use. You may have to layer them. So I think this green one is a pretty good match. I may keep these off to the side just in case. And when I color in my letters, I'm going to make sure that I get this green part, this golden part, and I leave this white, my paper color. But as you can see, the white is not a perfect line. So I'm going to make sure that I give it kind of a fuzzy look to it. I'm going to color in my eye for the sake of time, so that you have a little bit of time to work as well. I'm pressing hard so I get a dark value, but something like the shadow I may press medium, not so hard with my colored pencil, so that I get a lighter tone. Please make sure after you start coloring and you've gotten your picture how you kind of want it set up, you do make sure that you have your name, hour of art, and advisory teacher on the back of your paper. So now I'm going to try and find a golden color that I can use for the shadow. I'm going to test it out first. That's a little too yellow. I want kind of a caramely color. You may start to notice some things on a candy wrapper that you've never noticed before. Staying in my pencil lines. Okay, making sure that I'm not just getting into a habit, that I'm actually double checking and making sure that that's what my wrapper looks like. My next color I'm going to look for is a brown. So I want a light brown and a darker brown. So I think if I press hard with this one, it'll be a nice dark brown. And then I need to find a lighter brown that I can use for my swirls here. I want to find that color as well right now because perfect. I have my dark and I have my light. Make sure that if you find a colored pencil that you think you may want to use for the next day, you set it in your art locker too. So I'm going to look underneath the eye here, and I'm going to notice that it's my light brown that is kind of fuzzy right underneath the eye. So I'm going to use my light and my brown right there, but for the most part I'm going to use my light, and I'm just going to kind of make it fuzzy, so not a perfect line. So just like in our animal project, take this project into different sections. So maybe you say you get all the letters colored in today. Take your time, focus on that one area, and make sure it's perfected, the best of your ability. That way, you don't get overwhelmed, you don't get bored with the project, and you can make sure you're doing the best work that you can possibly do. And then maybe I would get some of this darker color in for that what looks like a caramel swirl in the background. Now your letters, like I said before, I didn't have them all drawn in, but make sure you have everything plotted out where you want it so that you can just go around and you can leave the parts that are white of your paper and you can color around those letters. Okay? Make sure you have bubble letters, make sure everything's proportional. Once you have everything colored in, okay, there's no white on your paper except for where it needs to be white, please come make sure I have a picture of it for Artsonia.